Hey, what's up guys? Alex here. So I'm back with another discussing transit video. And breaking away from transit planning, I want to look at transit access and convenience in my Toronto neighborhood and discuss its pros and cons. Now, as you guys know, I live next to a subway and an LRT line, but I also live near two stations that are very convenient and easy for me to use. However, I am also located near several bus routes, so I just want to talk about the numerous options and if it's any good or maybe it's bad or maybe uh, it could test the weight of time for now. Um, I've been inspired to make this video thanks to my transportation geography course where we looked at similar patterns. Now, no, I did not create a map, but we are going to use an existing map for an example, as we'll also look at other neighborhoods with their own transit patterns, as well as the time, maybe not the time it takes to commute, but more like the mode of choice to commute to work or wherever. So that's what we're going to look at tonight. I'm going to try and make this video as short as I can so I don't ramble on here. So let's just get into it. Oh yeah, and the photo is my own, and that's Glencairn Station, which is one of my two local stations. We'll get to that in a little bit. And I literally just discussed the purposes, but again, this is just to highlight transit access in low density residential neighborhoods. For me, that's just no exception. And of course, discuss the numerous options and discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the options that we'll be discussing. All right, so this is my neighborhood, Briar Hill, Belgravia. Now, while I do live in the York Borough, I am very close to North York and Old Toronto. So I live on Marley Avenue, and I am literally halfway between Glencairn and Cedarville stations. And the convenience of having two stations near me is good because I have multiple options, right? Now, generally, when I'm going north, I like to start my journey at Glencairn Station. Or if I'm going south, or if I'm going east-west, I like to walk to Cedarville Station. Now, the walk from my place to Glencairn Station is 3 minutes, while the walk to Cedarville Station is between 6 and 8 minutes. And this is a mostly low-density neighborhood. Uh, and fun fact, Glencairn Station probably could have not been built because when this station opened in the 1970s, uh, yeah, there's like nothing around the station but just typical single family homes. But also to the south of the station are more than a few high rise apartment buildings. Now, those buildings were built in the late 60s, early 1970s, and the subway did not even come up to this area until 1978. And they were going to build a Glencairn station on Yonge Street as part of the North Yonge subway extension. However, local residents objected that, despite the fact that Yonge Street was very commercialized and it had more people. So they decided to build the station uh, in the median of Allen Road. And yeah, that's why the station sees low ridership because uh, it is not a dense neighborhood compared to Yonge and Eglinton. But there's Cedarville Station, which is now a major interchange station. Now, Glencairn Station is on Line 1 Yonge University, and Cedarville Station is on both Lines 1 and 5. Of course, Line 5 is the Eglinton LRT. And this station is steps away from two business improvement areas, the Upper Village BIA and the Little Jamaica BIA, both of which are very underrated uh, districts, of course. And here are the transit routes in my neighborhood. We've already talked about lines 1 5, but there are 6 bus routes that are located within a short walking distance for me. The 14 Glencairn, 34 Eglinton, 63 Ossington, 90 Vaughan, 109 Rainey, and 164 Castlefield bus. The 14 Glencairn bus is just a 4-minute walk for me. I rarely use that bus nowadays. I used to use that bus a lot before Line 5 opened because at the time the 32 bus was always very slow, unreliable, and sometimes infrequent. So the 14 was like my best option to get to Midtown Toronto. The 34 Eglinton bus, I very rarely use. I've only taken that route like 4 or 5 times. I only take that route if line 5 is down or if I'm waiting very long for a train, and that has happened once. One time I was going to my family's place near Keelsdale and Caledonia stations, and I had to wait 7 minutes on Easter Sunday, and I did see that a 34 bus was about to come, so I decided to take that instead, and I pretty much got to my destination before the LRT did. The 63 Ossington bus is a good route too, but that's if I'm heading to like Liberty Village or somewhere in the west end of Toronto, and sometimes I think it's better than just taking lines 1 and 2 to Ossington Station. It's like a more direct way. The 109 Rainey is the route I use the most because I live on Marley Avenue, and that route runs along that street. So the 109 Rainey I use the most because it is on Marley Avenue where I live, as well as the 164 Castlefield bus. Now, here's what I like to do sometimes. If I'm going north, I walk to Glencairn Station. If I'm going downtown or east or west, I like to go to Cedarville Station. Now, Glencairn Station is a 3-minute walk for me, while Cedarville Station, like I said, it's a 6 to 8 minute walk. But getting to Cedarville Station comes with a few options. We just talked about the walking part, but why don't we talk about the buses? So, the 109 is mostly 25 minutes, as in like the frequency. The 164 is very infrequent. Okay, maybe not very infrequent, but it's infrequent enough for half an hour arrivals. Um, I just take whichever bus comes first on Marley Avenue. Uh, the only problem is there's major heavy traffic on Eglinton Avenue towards Allen Road. And no matter what time of day it is such a pain in the ass to make a left turn from Marley onto Eglinton. Like sometimes you're like waiting 5 minutes at the lights, and there's cars blocking up the intersection. But that's just because the intersection of Eglinton Allen is just it is very poor and unreliable, and traffic on Eglinton backs up all the way just west of Oakwood Avenue. And sometimes I just wonder, is it better to just walk to Cedarville Station or maybe go to Glencairn and then just head south? But the 109 and 164 can only be useful if it's during the off-peak hours. I mean, traffic is still pretty bad around then, but it is not as bad as rush hour. If I'm coming back from, let's say, the 63, it's obviously it's very tough because I'm coming from the south, and there's also plenty of traffic on Oakwood Avenue just before Eglinton. It still takes quite a while to make that right turn onto Eglinton, and also, if I'm taking the 63 or the 90, I just make the 6 minute walk to the Marley and Eglinton stop, and I can just board the buses and just head south. When I'm coming back, I just pretty much do the same thing. But the downside of also taking the buses to Cedarville Station is that if I get to Cedarville, I'm probably waiting like 5 minutes for a subway or an LRV. And since the Eglinton LRT opened, I've just been alternating. Like I just go on like the TTC website and look for like real time arrivals, and I just try to time myself properly so I can get on the LRV at Cedarville Station so that I don't have to wait like more than 5 minutes because the trains are they're still kind of infrequent. Like I'm waiting like an average 5 to 10 minutes during the off peak hours. But in the end, Line 5 continues to be very fast for me. Uh, it gets me really. It just gets me to Midtown, even more of York, a lot faster and easier. So it definitely helps me in many ways. But I just like to do the option that feels like comfortable with me. Like if it's raining, I'll just take the bus no matter the traffic. If it's a nice day, of course I'll walk to Cedarville Station. Um, but like I said, it really just depends on the timing. But with all the heavy traffic on Eglinton Avenue, which has been obviously it was a problem before the LRT opened, still is now. Um, yeah, so it's suffice to say, it's just better to for me to walk to Cedarville Station anyway. So this brings us to this website, and this person created an interactive map showing the different patterns and commutes around Toronto. And this pretty much shows whether Toronto neighborhoods near TTC subway and streetcar lines have higher shares of transit commutes. So um, yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. It just pretty much shows like land use patterns and different modes of transit, especially for commutes. And this map pretty much gives planners, transit groups, and citizens a visual method to assess where access can bode well for people, and also by merging 2021 census data on workers' means of transportation within the subway and streetcar network. And yeah, here it is. So now, before I get to this map, let's read this paragraph here as it tells us what the map really shows. So the graphic demonstrates that the census tracts with the largest proportions of workers using public transportation are not located directly in the heart of downtown. Rather, a number of corridors that follow the subway lines but are a little farther from the city center are formed by the deepest blue tracks. And for instance, there is a band of tracks around portions of lines 1 and 2 where transit commuting is much greater than other neighborhoods. Walking and cycling make up a very tiny percentage of trips in these areas, whereas the pop ups often display a high percentage of commutes by transit and a considerably smaller percentage of commutes by car. And this implies that while residents of these mid and inner suburban neighborhoods live far enough from major employment hubs to make walking or cycling difficult, being near a subway station makes using public transportation more alluring than driving every day. In contrast, the middle class is more prevalent in downtown areas than the lowest class, which probably indicates a more diversified pattern that includes walking, cycling, public transportation, and maybe working from home rather than a single dominating mode. And here's just some more information, but you get the idea. And while this map is only recent as of November 2025, it's still quite inaccurate because since this map was created, lines 5 and 6 have opened. Line 3 doesn't need to be there because actually it doesn't line 3 doesn't even show here despite the fact that it's shown in the legend. So let's go to my neighborhood here. So we're gonna zoom in on this census tract right here. And it says here that 12% commute by transit, while 26% commute by car. Okay, uh, that's pretty interesting for a low density neighborhood. What about for Yonge and Eglinton, which is a very, very dense area? Okay, 12% commute by transit, 15% commute by car. You don't really need a car to get around Midtown Toronto. Yonge and Eglinton is just very walkable. So that's another interesting part. And then when you look at downtown here, because obviously this is where everybody works. Yeah, 7% commute by transit, 14% commute by walk because even maybe most of these people walk from wherever they live downtown to their work, and 5% by car, which isn't surprising because nobody really wants to drive downtown. Then let's go to Scarborough over here and do the area of Kennedy Station. 18% commute by transit, 25% by car. So in the middle class suburbs, car dependency is definitely more prominent, especially in this part of town. We're looking at Malvern here. This is where transit users experience the longest commutes, especially with the loss of the Scarborough RT. That has increased commute times, even though several bus routes have been extended, but that's not saying much because buses often still get stuck in traffic. But they will be running on its own dedicated busway later this year. See, look, 10% commute by transit and 32% commute by car. That's not surprising. This part of Scarborough is very car dependent. Look at North York over here. This is North York Center by Finch Station. 17% by transit, 21% by car, so it is quite close. Like I said, it's almost like Yonge and Eglinton. People live along Yonge Street, and so it's like, what's the point? Like, if you're going downtown, obviously you're going to be taking the subway, but if you're going to the suburbs, then it makes sense to have a car. And then finally, let's look at the northwest part of Toronto. Again, that's changed now because Line 6 is open, but before Line 6 even opened up, 10% were commuting by transit and 34% by car. So before Line 6 opened, there is a huge share of car dependency. Keep in mind, Line 6 is still pretty slow, but it is more comfortable than packing yourself onto the 36 Finch West bus. So these suburban areas really do say it all, right? And obviously, just a huge difference between downtown, midtown, and the suburbs. But this map really should be updated with lines 5 and 6. Oh yeah, look at this area here. So look, it's dark. Yeah, that's not saying much. Just 18% by transit, 32% by car. But we don't pay attention to the other stats there. But cycling is definitely very prominent in Old Toronto, downtown, and a little bit of midtown as well. So, oh shit, 22% by car, 9% by transit. Okay, so I guess it does vary, but by location. But hopefully, what I'm saying makes sense. If you're a transit planner, if you've been researching this stuff like me, maybe you have a better accurate idea. You can just let me know. But other than that, I just wanted to analyze this here and discuss the many modes of transit that I often use. So obviously, if I'm heading downtown, use the subway. If I'm going somewhere else, gotta use the bus or the LRT. Either way, it's definitely made my commutes a lot easier with the opening of Line 5. I don't have to take a very slow ass bus along Eglinton Avenue. Um, but like I said, my destination, like it just varies on the final destination. Like it takes me under 20 minutes to get from here to downtown, but also to Midtown. It takes literally like 15 minutes because Young Eglinton literally isn't that far from me. But if I have to go elsewhere, like UTSC or Fairview Mall or the airport, obviously that takes longer, but at least there's more rapid transit options because of Line 5, and thank God for that. So, hey guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What is your experience with transit access and convenience in Toronto? What should be improved? Honestly, I don't really see that much improvement, at least for my area. It seems pretty self-explanatory for me. But if we're talking about the suburban neighborhoods, definitely they should increase the frequency of buses, try to make areas more walkable because you're just surrounded by roads and dangerous intersections. I think that's just how I look at it. So anyway, guys, I dragged this video on for way too long. It's getting late. I have to edit some videos. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Take care and peace out. Bye bye.